Welcome to Lessons with Laura. Today I'm going to talk about Tanzania and specifically 10 things that you need to know about Tanzania. But first you need to know that I'm an anthropologist and we do our work based on field work. So I've had the chance to do field work and live firsthand in Tanzania, especially in the northern area of Tanzania, the so-called safari circuit outside of Arusha. But I've had a chance to live in Dar es Salaam on the coast, visit Zanzibar, which is a stunning island off the coast of Tanzania and part of the country. So all of these 10 things are going to be based on firsthand experience and knowledge. First of all, Tanzania is in East Africa. It's just a little bit south of Kenya. It's very famous for having the tallest mountain in all of Africa, Kilimanjaro, which is 19,000 feet high. So the first thing to know is how Tanzania got its name. Tanganyika got independence in 1961, but it became Tanzania in 1964 when Tanganyika and Zanzibar were added together. So Tanganyika plus Zanzibar became Tanzania in 1964. And there was some tension between the mainland and the island, so they switched back and forth and had a president from the mainland and then a president from Zanzibar to address that tension. Number two, one of the things that you absolutely need to know about Tanzania is that it is a global travel destination, which isn't just for outsiders or travelers coming in, but it really affects the Tanzanian economy. Tourism plays a huge role, along with tea, coffee, agriculture. Tanzania is an amazing destination. It has the Serengeti, Ngorongoro, the white sand beaches of Zanzibar with incredible Islamic culture. Ngorongoro is an experiment in conservation, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site where people and wildlife live together. It's not always a perfect experiment, but it has a good intention. One thing I'd like to add is that I am the director of the Global Seminar Tanzania, which started in about 2011, and I've been going back every year working with community guides who benefit directly from ecotourism. So it's a really exciting way to stay directly in contact with the society. Number three is that it's very, very devoted to wildlife and conservation. So 30% of their land, nearly a third of their land, is devoted to some type of protected area. It might be a wildlife management area, it might be a national park, it might be a private conservation area, but all together those add up to 30%. And so that has a major social influence because people are devoting their precious land to conservation in the hopes that they are going to benefit from that and earn money from tourism dollars largely. But that land, in some cases, is not being used as agriculture or pastoralism, which can be seen to conflict at times with wildlife conservation. So it's a big social factor in the society. It's a really interesting film called The Place Without People that talks about some of the downsides of devoting so much land to conservation. Number four, Tanzania is primarily agricultural and it's home to over 120 tribes or ethnic groups, depending on which term you want to use. It's the only nation in Africa that has all four linguistic groups, and we actually visit all of those four groups on my global seminar, Tanzania. It's got Bantu, Cushitic, Nilotic, and Khoisan. It's predominantly agricultural still, even though there's a huge urban revolution going on. Dar es Salaam is a global city, it's a mega city, but there's still lots of people living in rural areas practicing agriculture. And of those people, there are more than 100 ethnic groups, so over 100, if you can wrap your mind around that. Number five, one of the things you need to know about Tanzania is that it's the birthplace of Swahili. So it means the Swahili spoken in Tanzania is Swahili Sanifu, like the highest form of Swahili. The Swahili language is a very important language in all of East Africa. It's actually a United Nations official language. And it's a really interesting language because it's a mix of Bantu and Arabic. In addition to Bantu and Arabic, Swahili has a number of borrowed words from English, also from Portuguese and Hindi. Part of the birthplace of Swahili came from Omani fishermen, travelers going to the coastal areas, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, and intermarrying and creating the Swahili culture. Julius Nyerere actually translated Shakespeare into Swahili to show Europeans at the time how sophisticated the language was. Number 6, Tanzania launched the Maji Rebellion. Maji means water, and it was triggered during the German colonial rule in 1908 because the Germans were trying to force Tanzanians to grow cotton as an export crop. And there was a rebellion. There was a local spirit medium who inspired people to be brave and said that the bullets would bounce off like water. And so that was the Maji Rebellion. In other words, Tanzania was fighting colonialism from the very beginning in 1908. They were colonized in the late 1800s, but all the way up through the 1960s. Tanzania was first under German colonial rule until World War I, and then because of global power shifts, they were under British colonial rule after World War I up until 1961. So the Maji Rebellion is a really important piece of history because it shows agency on the part of local people, not just accepting colonialism, but actually fighting against it. Number 7 is Julius Nyerere. Tanzania was led to freedom by Julius Nyerere, whose nickname was Mwalimu, which is the name of this channel. Mwalimu stands for teacher, and he was a very humble person. He was a teacher himself. He rode a bike. We always hear about the negative images of African leaders, corruption, people like Mbutu Sese Seko, but Nyerere was really the opposite. He was really strong in his ideology. He formed something called Ujamaa, which stands for African familyhood or African socialism. Not necessarily kind of a European version of socialism, but we're all interconnected. We all help each other. We help each other rise. He also had a policy called villagization that wasn't completely successful. As far as Julius Nyerere goes as a leader of Tanzania, he was also part of a group of post-colonial leaders who shared ideas, and he was close to Nelson Mandela. He also played a huge role in cementing Tanzania's identity as a very peaceful nation. And one of the key factors was he chose Swahili as a unifying language among the more than 100 tribes, whereas Kenya to the north chose English. Nyerere played a huge role in cementing national identity, taifa or nation first, and ethnic identity second. That led to a lot less tribalism, a lot less ethnic conflict. Number 8, which is actually very linked to Julius Nyerere, is Ujamaa, which is the word for family. So number 9, Dar es Salaam is often slated as the capital of Tanzania. It's right here on the coast, and it's listed even on this map as an official capital. But the true administrative and government capital is in Dodoma, which is in the middle of the country. But the ministers all keep their homes in Dar es Salaam and travel to Dodoma to go to meetings. I think in some ways they think it's just more fair to put it in the middle of the country so it's not giving privilege to one region. It would be like if we took Washington, D.C. and picked it up and made it where Kansas City or Denver is in the United States. Dar es Salaam is on the coast. It's very Islamic, but it's very multicultural. There's hip hop, there's fusion, Swahili food. It's a very exciting city, but also extremes of wealth and in some cases extremes of poverty. You've got Oyster Bay, which is the head of the global aid community. In 2020, it was estimated to have 6 million residents, but that's probably vastly undercounted because the census isn't always accurate when you have informal settlements and many people coming in from the countryside. So food, in terms of food, ugali is an important food, but also Zanzibar, the island of Zanzibar, is known as the Spice Island, cinnamon, cloves, garlic. So a lot of really great Indian Ocean fusion food with fish, coconut milk comes from that region. Lastly, I would just like to say goodbye, asante sana, which means thank you very much in Swahili for being part of 10 things you need to know about Tanzania. Stick around for more videos. You'll see them on the YouTube channel about more countries. Also continue to invite young entrepreneurs, artists, shakers and movers on the continent who are making a positive impact.